Sunday, everyone. Wherever you are watching me from around the world, thanks for tuning in to this week's teaching. I am Krista Bontrager, also known as Theology Mom, and this is the show where I talk about social issues from a biblical perspective. I'm a public theologian and Christian apologist, and I'm glad you're here. And I do want to remind you that this podcast is made possible by people just like you. If you would like to know more information about how to support our work at the Center for Biblical Unity as we work to try to be a stand for biblical unity in an age of deep division, Monique and I would love to have your support. You can find out more information about what we do. Just go to centerforbiblicalunity.com/donate. And boy, am I excited. This is a podcast I have been wanting to do for a very long time. So I get so many comments from people wanting to know more about my story, my background. And so that's what we're going to do today. I don't know. 10 people might watch this. We will see. But we're going to talk a little bit about me being in high school. It's going to be scary a little bit because I've got the man who knows the stuff. And as a teenager being raised in Southern California in the 1980s, we were just living the dream. We were watching The Breakfast Club and eating In-N-Out cheeseburgers and growing up in the East San Gabriel Valley with beautiful weather and driving down to the beach, which is about an hour away, a lot. And we listened to some great music on cassette tapes and went to the Bible bookstore a lot and hung out. And Ronald Reagan was president. And it was just a beautiful and wonderful time in my life. And I had the amazing privilege of attending a church that had a vision of raising up young people as Christian leaders. Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if they actually sat down and said it in those many words, but looking back on it now, that's really what they were trying to do. And I met my youth pastor that I'm going to interview today. His name's Ron Baum. I met him when I was about 12 years old. I was in junior high school, and he was my junior high pastor. And then when I went into high school, he got the job as the high school pastor. And so we all got promoted together. It was very fun. And Ron had a big job of trying to wrestle a bunch of knuckleheads and disciple them to try to be serious Christians. And he did pretty much everything that a lot of the youth pastor experts today tell you not to do. He was pretty countercultural even then, and he had no shame about telling us when we were being lukewarm Christians. In fact, he told us that quite a lot. He told us that we needed to read our Bible more. We needed to have a quiet time. He made us read books like The Pursuit of Holiness by Jerry Bridges. And he told us not to have sex until we were married. He told us to choose better friends. I remember he used to stand on tables a lot and tell us how hard it was to reach down and pull people up to where we were spiritually, because how easy it was for people to pull us down off the table. He would do things like these sorts of antics on a regular basis. And he really did some innovative things when it came to ministry. And that's what I want to talk about today. He made it fun. He took us to summer camp every year. He chewed us out when we needed it, and sometimes we really did need it. And maybe the most important thing he taught us was how to serve in the local church. And I am forever grateful to what this young man invested in all of us and his wife as well. And it was a family project. And I cannot tell you how excited I am that he made the journey up here to my house to talk to me in studio today, to just have a conversation about youth ministry. And I hope it's an encouragement to you, whether you work in youth ministry, whether you're a parent or someone with a young child, and just thinking about, I love innovators. I love talking about innovative ministries and people who are doing things just a little bit different. And so that's why I am excited to welcome Ron Baum. to the Theology Mom Show. Welcome, Ron.
Oh my gosh, thank you. This is so exciting.
Well, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I have so many questions because I really haven't seen you in a very long time.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. And we have not really kept in touch over the years, but you've always been very fond in my heart. I'm wondering, how old were you exactly when you became my junior high pastor?
And you're, wow, we're going back. We don't look any different, by the way.
No.
We have not
Well,
aged
we're going to see in the
a
pictures
moment.
in just a second.
Oh, great. Okay, well, then we just found out that wasn't true. So I would have been 24 at that time. So we're talking 40 years ago.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Now, you probably don't remember this, but I have a memory of you when I went to day camp when I was a kid, and you were a counselor. That's kind of my first sort of sentient memory of you. But how did I want to show some pictures of Ron here. So here you are. We're in Mexicali here, sitting on the wood benches.
Yeah, with hair and a beard. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's how I remember you. And there's another one here of you, one of my favorites. I think we were at an all-nighter with a spoon on your nose, playing spoons.
Playing spoons, right? Yep, there you go.
You were a very fun-loving guy. And here's one with the three of us, with me, you, and your wife, Julie. And this was on the night that I graduated from high school. You guys actually came to my house to my high school graduation party. And so there's Krista in high school with I don't know what my hair was doing. It was, I thought I was doing big things there. I was probably about 17. But
it was the age of big hair.
It was. I miss my hair, actually. So how did you get interested in being a youth pastor? Like, was that something you always wanted to do, or you just kind of graduated into it? How did that happen?
Yeah. It was not something I always wanted to do. I didn't become a believer until I was in high school. So really a freshman in high school was my first experience actually going to the church that we're talking about back then. I was invited to come in as a high school student, and I had like one of the most incredible high school year experiences in a youth ministry that was dynamic. And so there were a lot of youth pastors, which was odd. In a 4-year time period, I had 3 different youth pastors.
Wow.
So there was kind of a rotating door and a come and go, but each one took a personal interest and walked me through discipleship. And again, had no intention of ministry. I was going to build houses and remodel houses. I was going into the contractor world. And with that, there was, when I was a senior in high school, there was a youth pastor, Sam Knight.
I remember him.
Remember Sam? Sam sent me to a conference up in Boulder, Colorado. And the speakers, who are no longer living today, but Howard Hendricks, Dawson McAllister. And they did this workshop on high school discipleship. And that is really where I sensed the calling, but was not going to step into ministry. My parents would have said, why would you go in? No, that's not a paying job, right? So I went into construction for a while, but was still haunted by that experience. And I had opportunity then to move into an internship. And I was just doing that part-time while I was working. So I was doing this internship in middle school, and that's where, we had connected from a ministry standpoint. And so that was a couple of years to then that all of a sudden was an invite to become the high school pastor. And that was then the big decision of leaving construction, going into ministry.
Well, I remember being in junior high, coming to your little apartment downtown Glendora. You and your wife you didn't have any kids yet. And I think you guys had been married maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you had us going through like some little workbook. And we were filling in blanks. And you were always telling us how important it was. I just remember the word over and over again was discipleship. And that you were not at all interested in just merely leaving us like, hey, just pray the sinner's prayer and then you're in and let's eat some pizza. Like you were all about, this is a lifelong thing. You need to learn, what does it really mean to be a Christian? And I just remember sitting in your little living room, filling out that little book. And I was like, okay, I guess this is on the steps of what that means in learning how to be a Christian. Now, our church had a program back then called Summer Ministries. You did not invent it, but you inherited it from the previous staff. But tell people what Summer Ministries was. It was just such a unique program. And what was it and how did it work?
Yeah. So again, when I was in high school, that youth ministry was very dynamic at that time. And Summer Ministries was a major part that George Ria had led. And so I was very much a part of it every summer. And it was dynamic in that you went through training in how to talk to kids. And so the intention was, how can we run a day camp where we would take kids for the entire day, and we would have excursions that we would do in the afternoons, but in the mornings, we would be able to talk about Jesus, whether we were doing a craft or telling a story or playing a game. And the dynamic of all of us being together and being in that program was just like incredible. Well, then that ministry had ended, and it went away for a couple of years. And then when I was called into ministry, high school ministry, it was time to bring Summer Ministries back. And so that was a dynamic where I kind of put my twist on it from what I had experienced in the past. And so we took it to a new level back then and ran it for years.
Yeah. Now, I want people to understand this. Now, when I was a kid, I was in those day camps. I went to that, and I have a very vivid memory of you helping me with a craft. I couldn't have been more than like 8 or 9 years old. In fact, I still have the T-shirt from day camp. And Bob's got a picture of it. We're going to show it on the. So this is a shirt that I wore that my grandmother made into a quilt for me. She took all my old T-shirts and made them into a quilt for me. And this was a shirt that I wore at Grace Baptist Day Camp when I was probably about 8 years old, and went to the day camp, and we would have activities like every day, Monday through Friday.
Yep.
And we would have like singing and a Bible story, and then an activity like go to the park or go to Disneyland or go to the beach. I forget what the other ones were, but every day there was something. We were tired.
Yes. Yes.
But I looked forward to that all summer long, going to day camp.
Yeah.
And then when I got in high school and you were running it, I got to work as a day camp counselor. I want you to tell people like about this training, because to me is so unbelievable. Like, you would get us there from like 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. for a week or two.
Yep.
And you taught us how to share the gospel with a child. We had a lot of rules about learning how to work with children. But you also taught us how to make a lesson, how to tell a story, how to share the Bible with a child.
Yeah.
Like, what gave you the idea that high schoolers could learn that much responsibility?
Yeah. Because it was weird. Parents entrusted their kids with us.
It was weird.
I mean, there's several layers, right? First of all, high school students, those parents entrusted high school students to me.
Yeah.
And we did weird stuff. I mean, we were traveling all over the place, sometimes around the world. And parents trusted that. And then younger kiddos, their parents were entrusting their kids to high school students. And we're taking them to, this wouldn't happen, I don't think, today on some of the things that we did.
know.
Maybe a certain level, but not.
Small children were being trusted to Eddie Ginter.
Well, yeah. Eddie, the Fonz, Brent, all of them. So back then that was the thing, right? I mean, there's stuff that happens today in kids ministry that in our culture, there's more safety things in play, and so we've
it's a different
moved
world
with that.
then.
And so we got to do some fun things, but what probably people didn't realize is the layered approach to it, right? So I still was continuing discipling high school students.
Yeah.
It was through activity and event that was happening.
Yeah.
So they were having a good time. They were, the kids were tuckered out by the end of the day. The counselors were tuckered out. But if you remember, sometimes we would come back after we had a full day of day camp. We would come back in the evening and still hang out together.
Yeah.
And there was just that discipleship relational culture that we were building, that was on the level of students. If students could be good storytellers and be able to tell a story to a kid to help them be introduced to Jesus, it built the students' faith. These kids would have a faith base that they could carry on for life.
Yeah.
And so if we could do it there, we could do it anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's why we then began to branch out. We went from doing it locally in Glendora to then we would go inner city, Santa Ana, downtown LA. We were traveling, doing day camps in other churches.
Yeah.
And again, the layer of we were helping other churches get their leaders and build leaders within their church, show them how to reach out across the street to their neighbor by songs, crafts, stories, recreation, all kinds of fun, interactive things. And so that it was layered, definitely.
Yeah. And I want people to understand, like, you were building a culture within the youth group of discipleship.
Yep.
But we were doing it through service, but also through Bible study. Like, if we were not there at 8:00 in the morning, because we were required, you gave us one year, Jerry Bridges, The Pursuit of Holiness to read. And we had to read a little bit every day, and part of the training, and take notes in a notebook and have our Bibles. But we had to do all of that before the training started. So we were there 7:30, 8 in the morning doing that. And then you would start with the training. But it was an amazing experience because we didn't really understand what you were doing. Like, for us, it was just fun. And that's where all our friends were.
Yeah.
Looking back on it now as an adult, I understand, you were building a culture where people wanted to come and participate and belong. And then through that, you were providing the discipleship component of, hey, this is what it means to be a Christian. And the deeper things of that. I got a couple more pictures here of Summer Ministries. Here's one where we were making posters.
Cheryl and Debbie.
Yeah, a couple of my friends here. This is 1987. You can see the 87 on the shirt there that we had. And here's me with my little group one year at Disneyland. And boy, I remember those shorts. I miss those shorts. That was good times.
You almost were rocking the mullet.
Yeah, I know. So part of it too was that we had like a week or so of training. And then I remember the next week after that, you sent us out to like a retirement home. And we had to run, not really a day camp, but kind of a morning activity thing, show up with songs and do a lesson and a craft for old people. And I hadn't really been around old people. I didn't know how to do that. And I thought, this is crazy. But all my friends were there. Yeah. And so I wanted to come along for the ride. And then one week we did it at an apartment building in Glendora. And so we had to, you sent us door to door, knocking on doors with little flyers and inviting kids to come to the day camp, if you will, or VBS, whatever it was, there at the apartment building. And then we would do a couple of day camps at the church. And then we would run VBS because it was a lot of kids. And so the VBS had built-in help, all of the young people. And then we would kind of get to the end of the summer, and the end cap of the whole thing was Hume Lake, going to summer camp the week right before we would all go back to school. So we had almost like this programmed thing of summer activities. And I just want to know, like, what was the spell that you cast over all of us to get us to give up our whole summers every year to come serve at the church? Like, that was a typical summer for us.
Summer after summer after summer. Some stayed with it for 4 years. I don't know. When I think back to those days, it really was an element of a layered philosophy of ministry. And it was a realm of, I knew people are going to have and meet Jesus in a certain way when they are serving him. So whether it be serving within the local church, serving in the community, serving in the inner city, serving around the world, when you are serving and you see life change, you get to be the hands and feet of Jesus, you get to see the result of being the hands and feet of Jesus, it changes lives. And so it was constantly part of the discipleship process to say, if I can get students out there serving in the context of fun, with kids, with elderly, with inner city, with, whoever, they will meet Jesus in a significant way. And so it all had intentionality behind it.
Yeah.
You couldn't always control the results. That was God's deal, right? That was God's part in it. But you could provide the avenues in which to do so. Now, I wish I could say there was a silver bullet of why everyone was interested in doing that every summer. And really, we've said the word several times, I think, is what matters. We created a culture.
I think that was the secret sauce to it.
The secret sauce is the culture. You create a culture. Peter Drucker, I think, if I'm quoting the right person who said this, said, culture will eat strategy for breakfast. You could have all the strategies in the world. They may work, may not. Throw them against the wall, see what sticks. That's typical ministry. Create a culture, and the culture will change people.
It was the relationships.
Yeah.
It was the all of the experiences that we had. It wasn't fancy. Mm-hmm. We didn't have a lot of, I didn't feel like you had a ton of money invested in that. I mean, we all got to go to summer camp at the end, but it wasn't like you were bringing in big name speakers or doing, super expensive programming.
Right.
It was just the friendships, the relationships. And I think too, like, we didn't know that what we were really learning was how to serve the Lord.
Yeah.
It kind of came as almost a secondary impact of, this is what it means to be a Christian.
Yeah.
You have to show up for people and having these deeper relationships.
But is it any different than what Jesus did?
I know.
He invited people into a culture. They left what they were doing. They left their businesses. They left their family. They would get involved in the culture of Jesus and watch.
Yeah.
And they would be involved in different types of things and watching Jesus tell a story, heal, do a miracle. They would watch all these things and their lives were changed. Why? Only because 3 years later, they would become world changers.
But you always taught us that. Like, I remember, and you were content. You always said that I don't care about changing everybody. I just want to change and disciple a few people. Mm. And there was even like a core group of us that you discipled even deeper. Yeah. We came on Monday nights to your house, and you had a little house right next to the church, and you had about one child at that point when I was in high school. And we would come on Monday nights, and it was called Servant Leadership Group. Yep. And I didn't even know what that meant, but you just kept preaching at us, servant leadership. And really what it was is now is like a Bible study. I remember you led us through the book of Acts once. Yeah. And you were always telling us about Acts chapter 2. And that was like our core verse of the culture was fellowshipping together, praying together, reading the word together. Yep. These were the things you were trying to instill in us as daily habits and as a people. And so that core group, I don't know, maybe there was 12 or 15 of us that came on those Monday nights, and that became the backbone of the whole thing. Like, we gave up sports. We didn't care about sports. Yeah. We didn't care about a lot of other things that our peers were doing. We just knew we wanted to be part of this thing. Yeah. Because it was just fun to have those relationships. And so many of us are still friends. Yeah. And still connected.
Truth and courage. Christians need a good dose of both in this current cultural moment. That's why you need to be at the 2025 Maven Conference. We are going to look at the anti-Christian culture that we're currently in and the unique challenges that it presents to us. The challenges of expressive individualism, the authority of the self, and how that dominates so much of our society. And then also critical theory, the ideas that permeate every institution, and families and students need to figure out how to navigate those challenges. So join us in Indianapolis on Saturday, November the 8th, where you'll get a good dose of both truth and courage to help you navigate this challenging world. Go to mavenconferences.com to register.
Another component of it was we went on choir tour. We had a youth choir at that time. And you and your wife, Julie, came with us on a choir tour, and we had the bus. I got a few pictures of choir tour. That was usually at the beginning of summer. So here we are, our little youth choir. And this is probably a lot of the people that were about my age in my year, but you even went so far as to make a little tour for us around California.
Yeah.
And that was pretty crazy. All these years, I've saved my shirt from one of the choir tours.
From choir tour.
Yeah, it has the
New creation. Yeah.
It has the little cities on there: Little Rock, Diamond Springs, Cedar Ridge. I don't even know where these places are. Bakersfield. I sort of remember.
Gosh.
Byron and
Seen them, I
Glendora.
remember now. Oh my gosh, I forget about most of them.
Yeah.
Hey, one year we went to SeaWorld, so we did SeaWorld.
Yeah, I remember that. But it was just such a fun time. But as part of that, we had to ride the bus. There's a lot of hours on the bus. I got a bus picture here. Hopefully my friends don't.
Oh.
I don't know. There's a little deep conversation there.
That's right. Yeah. Who knows?
A lot of hours on the bus. Let me see the next one. This is me trying to get clean before a concert, probably. I'm thinking I'm washing my feet in a public bathroom sink or at the church, wherever we were staying. And then there's another one here. Here's Robin getting a quick nap on a picnic bench.
Yep.
I mean, we had to get to sleep wherever
we could get it. Yeah. Because we were up late.
Yeah. We took showers in hoses and just all kinds of foolishness. But we were kind of willing to do it because of the culture.
Yeah.
And looking back on it now, that idea, I mean, things that we talk about today about like, I want to feel included. I want to feel like I belong. We didn't think about those words back then, but that's what we were doing.
Yeah. 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 For me, it was a realm of, again, it was my philosophy of ministry that was from the Acts 2 realm. I figured if it worked then, it's got to work today. And it was all developing leaders. And when I recognized it was developing servant leaders, that's where that came from. And so the idea of developing servant leaders, we still had a large youth group. We took a lot of people to camp and that kind of thing. And so that was the big group, right? And so you tend to coach the big group, but then you begin to develop those that are standing up saying, I want to serve the Lord. And then you begin to mentor the few that say, I want to take this further.
I want to go deeper.
So it was really part of a leadership development strategy that was really a piece of that. And although it may have felt like we didn't do it with a lot of money, the church never provided a big youth ministry budget. So I was always involved with raising money behind the scenes.
Okay.
I always said if there's a book I was going to write in those days, it was going to be youth ministry for fun and profit. I made more money because that's why we went to Hume on chartered buses, not school buses. We were watching videos on the charter bus up to Hume Lake. We were doing things because we had some really good parental sponsors that stepped up and stepped in. And we were doing things of raising money throughout the year that you guys would have never seen. I didn't put that on you guys. That was on the leadership, interns, and those that were serving in the ministry. They were raising funds so that we could do some of the things that we did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was happening in the background for sure.
Interesting. Today, I think youth group is not seen as really an on-ramp into adulthood. Mm-hmm. It's not seen, we're inundated by these horrible statistics about deconversions.
Yeah.
As young people go to college and graduate out of the youth group. I think that what you did though is that you in a way you treated us like adults, but you did chew us out when we screwed up. But you were a good dad or uncle to us in that way. But for you, I always felt like you were trying to help us grow up into adulthood. That was a big component of the discipleship was you didn't want to leave us as baby Christians forever. You wanted us to graduate into adulthood. And, you married some of us, you baptized some of us, you were a big part of our lives. But I think that my hope is that some people will be inspired in seeing this of, maybe thinking about how sometimes we do a little too much not thinking about young people as adults and like, how are we going to help them step into that?
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversations these days about, when does adulthood really happen? And it's getting later and later and all of that. But I feel like you did that so effectively. And I don't know if that was intentional on your part, but you really helped us transition into adulthood so well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't know about intentionality behind that piece of it, but I think because there was strategy behind the discipleship aspect of it, developing servant leaders, I think that is what provided avenues for people to grow up younger. When you're being given the responsibility
There's a
of
lot of
kids and
responsibility.
don't lose them at Disneyland, I mean, you grow up pretty quick, you know? And so in today's culture, which I think is shifting, in today's culture that people are getting married later and taking on responsibility later, well, because there's a little bit of time frame of coddling that went on and people were kind of not given opportunities to be responsible, not given discipleship processes in which to follow, not being given leadership responsibility. And so they kind of stayed in that kid environment, and so that's sad, but I think that's what we saw different back then.
yeah. And my hope is that it will shift.
Yeah.
That we'll get back to that on some.
I think there's a young culture shift that's happening right now, just in basic faith explosion.
Yeah.
I think there's a revival going on across America. I get an opportunity to serve a lot of churches now. And I see happening in that young adult stage a revitalization of the faith. And that's exciting to see that we might be on the verge of that kind of revival. And it's needed. It's important in our nation. It's important in our church culture, because we have opportunity to swing back to people taking hold of their faith and allowing that to be something that's shared with people around them.
Yeah. That's so much more eloquent than what I was saying. Another thing you did, and I really can't believe you did this, is that you took us all to Mexico every year.
Yes, we did.
So on the 1 week we had off when we weren't in Summer Ministries, he took us on spring break to Mexico. And we had to have another training for many Saturdays to get ready for Mexico. So we would give up our Saturdays to go to more training on how to share the gospel in Spanish and sing all our Sunday school songs in Spanish and all of that sort of thing, and how to go through the border correctly. And, you were always trying to keep us out of trouble. But I got a few pictures of Mexicali. Here's one with Sandra Luis.
Oh, yeah.
Playing guitar with a couple of the young people at the church down in Mexico that we were involved with, a church plant.
Yeah, Villa Flor.
Yeah, down there. And here I am with some of the girls. I hadn't discovered hairspray yet, apparently. But there I am with some of the girls in Mexicali. And there's the big picture. So that program was run through Azusa Pacific University. And so young people would come from all over and descend into Mexicali for that program. Tell us a little bit about what we were doing there.
Yeah, so that's my alma mater, right? So that's where I was at Azusa and got introduced to Mexicali back in the day. Carolyn Coons, Ron Klein, that were running that. And that was, again, taking our ministry into another level. How can we go cross-cultural? How can I introduce our students to, it's not about all Glendora where we were from, right? This upper middle class area and whatnot. We got to break out. That's what we started doing inner city, right? So we're in Santa Ana, downtown LA. And then, all right, how do I take students even further? And that was crossing the border, not knowing the language, seeing poverty for what it really is, and living amongst the people and serving them. And we brought our day camp stuff down there.
Right.
And we're doing just some...
And again, you sent us door to door in a foreign country.
With interpreters, right? High school interpreters. Door to door in Mexico. I didn't even know where you guys were half the time. The parents only knew. I had no idea where you guys were. So we would go door to door and we'd gather these kids together. And that exploded into then an opportunity to do a church plant. And so that gave us a consistent place to go. We had a local pastor And we partnered with them, and our church got behind all of that. We built the church. We helped support the church in that location.
So there was sort of some carryover and longevity there because we kept going down to the same church,
area.
and our larger church was investing in them. It wasn't just the youth, but
Yes,
that was kind of nice. There's some local pastors there that were carrying on the ministry after we left.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because that was important to me to have someone on. You can't be the Americans coming in,
The American Savior swooping in.
for a couple days
Yeah.
and call it good. Sure, I think we benefit from ministry and missions like that, but I like to take it further. Can we have an impact on a culture that is there? And so that was the intention. Joining with Azusa, they just made it easy because they developed Tent City. And so we were able to have a place in which to stay that was safe
we all
and secure.
slept in tents.
We slept in tents.
There was outhouses.
Yep. It was.
I tried to avoid them. I tried to hold it until we got to the church where there was a flushing toilet.
Yeah. Those were the days. Remember downtown showers?
Yeah, it took public showers. We paid $0.25 or something,
Yep.
and we went to public shower. I'm pretty sure my mother doesn't know.
Yeah, they can all watch this now and realize what they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I think another thing that was really brilliant that our church did, and I wrote about this in our book, Walking in Unity, is that our church had a Spanish-speaking congregation, but it was more than just they were renting a facility from us. The pastor was part of the staff.
Yeah.
They were part of our church. And their kids came to the youth group. We were all integrated
Yep.
in Sunday school. We were one church. We just had two different languages happening, but we knew each other.
Yeah.
And I think that was a very good model, that it wasn't just, we're renting out our building to these
Right.
people, that they were part of our family.
Yeah. We did life together.
Yeah. And so the second generation kids were often bilingual, and they could help facilitate translation
Yeah.
when we went down to Mexico for ministry.
Yeah.
And I think that was just such a beautiful gift to be able to extend that culture to us. And it just was a really a blessing in how it all came together to be able to do that. I remember going door to door with Alfonso and somebody else, and we were in Mexico, and I had never experienced anything like that before. And there we are going door to door, and some woman invites us in for food and soda. And I'm like, we can't go in a stranger's house. My mother's taught me my whole life. You don't go inside a stranger's house. Fonzo's like, oh, it'll be okay.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's right. I used to go down.
And he was 15.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. I used to go down separate from the group to get things ready. And there was a group of women there that would know that I was coming. Oh, Ron's coming, And back then I was taking Spanish classes. And so I was speaking a little bit more, but had an interpreter with me. And they would always make the effort to make hot sauce for me, because I kept telling them, I thought it was supposed to be hot in Mexico, and it is, it's spicy. No, it's not. It's just like ketchup. So every time I'd say that, and they'd make it spicier and spicier. And one time I went down, internally I was 900 degrees, but I wasn't going to admit it. And they would just laugh and laugh and laugh at me eating their hot sauce. But we did life with another culture.
Yeah.
And that was an important piece of it.
It really was.
The world is hurting. Poverty, division, injustice, and despair surround us. But there's hope. God's word offers timeless solutions for justice and healing. Join us on October 23rd through the 25th in Fairfield, Alabama for the Biblical Views on Justice and Society Conference. This transformative 3-day event explores how Scripture addresses today's challenges with clarity and compassion. Hear from thought leaders like Monique Duson, Kevin Briggins, Alton Hardy, and Krista Bontrager as they unpack biblical principles for justice and practical steps for your community. Together, let's discover God's plan.
We also had a lot of fun. It wasn't all service.
Yeah.
We did a lot of fun things, and you always made things really fun. We went to the beach a lot.
Yeah.
There was a lot of volleyball at the beach. I got a few pictures of that. And we were all so young. I remember being young.
Yeah.
And I think this is down in San Clemente. There's another angle of us. And there's you.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. Slim with hair. Wow. That's just a different day.
Yeah, we were young once. I'm pretty sure that's San Clemente. I was over always on the towels. I was not going to play volleyball. So it was Laura and I were over on the towels. But yeah, good times. We also had an overnighter once. I remember I took some pictures. So we had like lip syncing or air band
competition.
Yeah, competition. And here's the boys against the girls. Good times. And then you took us out in the middle of the night to play broom ball. I was not going to do that, but I did get a couple of pictures on the ice. And then there was a game that I don't know if you had invented this or what, but we ran around the ping pong table. There you are.
Yeah.
That was about 2 a.m. by that point. Here's about 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's right.
Looking pretty tired. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
What fun times we had. And I think that you helped us make some amazing memories. Personally, I wouldn't have changed a thing, but I'm sure you've learned some stuff since then. Like as you reflect back on those years, what do you think is good? What would you do differently?
Yeah.
How have you learned?
Ministry, I think we did good ministry. It's so fond memories back then. I mean, just last week, 15 of our students from 40 years ago were at our house hanging out and telling the stories. It looked like we were getting ready to go to Hume Lake, and you step back in time. Just being with you right now, a step back in time like crazy. But to know that those relationships continue on, we can share fond memories from that period of time. Is so significant. So, what would I change? I don't know if we'd change much of anything. Maybe there were some things that we did were, on the border of whether it was it safe? Was it the right thing to do? And so those are questionable. But the learning from, I think if I've been doing ministry now going on 39 years. And when I think back to then and where things have developed since, is the replication of leaders. I think to have imparted more, to recruit more and replicate yourself so you can reach more. I think that's where we had great times, great memories. I think that could have been other leaders doing that. And we had great leadership back then. But I would have said, I would have expanded that. I would have tried to reach more. We came from a big town, a lot of big high schools. Our high schools were huge, right back there in Covina and Glendora and whatnot. We could have reached more than even we were doing in our nice little church. And I just look at that, see when Jesus went out and they were feeding 5,000 on a hillside, to say it didn't matter if he was just sitting with Peter, James, and John, or he was with 5,000 on a hillside. It was all about expressing the message of the good news. And so how could we do that? Leadership development was important to me then. I think I would have scaled that even bigger to reach more. I think that's what I would, probably my takeaway from that, looking back that many years.
What are your thoughts? I know you're still in ministry today.
Yeah.
You also do real estate.
Yeah.
So you got a little side hustle there.
And a consultant. I travel around the nation now working with churches.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do you think about the moment that we're in right now, ministry-wise, for young people? Like, do you think that looking back at the big principles of what you did back then and trying to build discipleship culture, I think that's a really good phrase for it. Do you think that that's replicatable today? Do you think do you have advice for youth pastors today as you reflect on where ministry is now and where youth ministry is? Like, what are your thoughts about where we are now, or what advice would you have for youth pastors?
Yeah, I wrote down several things I want to share with you. I don't want to make sure I'll take a lot of time on that. But one thing, we are in a day with my opportunity to go work with other churches. Hiring youth pastors today, it is the smallest pool that is out there today. There's a lot of desire to be that lead pastor, that church planter, which great. sometimes you need to start somewhere. And in youth ministry, you do all the things that adult church life does. You do all of it. You do all the same things with budgets and programs and events and discipleship and leadership building and all. You do all the same thing. You can do it there. You can do it in the adult world, which is why many pastors today had come from a youth ministry background. The problem is we haven't passed that baton, and schools are not training it. Headhunters don't have a big Rolodex of who's available, and churches are having a difficult time filling that role. I would be putting out there, say, is it time to change the tide and make the importance of that youth ministry to have things like we had? Would we do the same things? Probably not. Methodologies change, strategies change, but the philosophy doesn't. The philosophy still is based on Acts 2. It still comes down to, how do we hear God's word and act on God's word? How do we connect with others? How do we worship together? How do we serve the needs of those around us? And how do we share the good news? The 5 strategies are there in Scripture. People did it 2,000 years ago after the ascension of Jesus, and the disciples went out and led people to the Lord. So I think there needs to be a new mindset of going back into high school periods of time, because we all know the stats, right? 50% may know the Lord in high school and then they fall away.
Yeah.
I like to turn that on its head a little bit, say, but yeah, but 50% might keep it, right? So there is a positiveness to it, but how can we go after it more? And I think we need that leader to step into youth ministry culture, develop the culture, develop a discipleship pathway process, and begin to implant that in our hearts so that when they're later in life and adults, they rely back on those moments and those memories when they witnessed life change. They saw what Jesus was doing. They see and experience what he has done in their own life. And they pass that on to their kids. They pass that on to neighbors and those around them. We don't get into a culture where we just hide, but we get into a place where Jesus is real for everybody. Let's put it out there. We have the answer. We have the antidote to death. We have eternal life. We have that message. Share it. That needs to be shared.
Yeah, that's so good. I'm wondering, in this day and age, the core principle of the discipleship culture, that is something that could be expressed differently in different places and different regions of the country or whatever. But that idea, I think, is just such a powerful idea, and that we wanted to be there. We sacrificed to be there. Our parents weren't forcing us. And you really taught us the Bible. You weren't afraid, like, oh, maybe nobody will come if we only, if unless I only have pizza parties, like, and make it fun all the time, no one will come. I remember you used to say, hey, when other people are off on summer vacation, we're just ramping up. We're getting to the good stuff. And you would encourage us, but it never felt like coercion. It never felt like our parents were making us. It was that, oh, our friends are going to be there. Yeah, I want to be a part of it. And then you were pouring into us. To me, that kids today are craving in-person relationships.
No doubt.
Everything is so virtual.
Yep.
I feel like the power of that is kind of old-fashioned, but is what's really needed, is those real-life relationships. I'm sad to hear that the youth pastor position is kind of waning and being difficult to be filled, because that's such a powerful opportunity.
Yeah.
And yet, to be honest, I wrestle at times with the helpfulness of a youth group when it is just all entertainment.
Right.
With what we did, it was useful. It got us ready for adulthood. There was a purpose to it and everything. But so many of the youth experiences now, it's just about entertainment. Just come be entertained.
Yeah.
And that was just never your vibe. You're like, I'm not here to fill you. I'm not here to fill you up. You need to go serve others, and this is what we're going to do. Come along for the ride.
Exactly.
And not everybody did. Like, there was some people that were in the large group of 70 that didn't come along for the ride, but there was these kind of concentric circles of you wanting to lead us to deeper places, and there was smaller and smaller groups that say, yeah, I'll go even deeper with you. I'll go even deeper there.
Yep.
I think that's a powerful model, but like you said, it's Jesus' model.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it can work today with maybe some different methodology, different strategies,
Yeah.
but the principle being the same. Can we express those 5 things that are important? I'll give you kind of a big list if I could.
Yeah.
Here's what I think is important in today's world. And when I keep going back to that culture word, so we created a culture that people wanted to be there. And you talked about, you speak to your audience, a lot of young families. And what my wife and I did, even at home with our kids, is we created a culture where we were the house to be at. We didn't do the sleepover thing, and I don't know, if people do that today or not. I don't know what the thing is there, but we said, no, we're not going to do that. We want the kids at our house. We can have our eyes on them. We created the culture where their friends wanted to be. And now our kids are grown adults. They now have kids. And to see each of our kids creating a culture within their own home of being the house to be at, you're drawn to it. And so in ministry, it was, I'll give up my spring break. I'll give up my summer because that's where I want to be. In today's youth ministries, I'm always fearful of, you have 2 events in the summer. That's it? The students have nothing to do. This is a great opportunity to create that culture, let them come.
Yeah.
So these are the few things I threw out there. They got to build authentic relationships. A pastor today, a youth pastor or student pastor, needs to build authentic culture. Kids need to see realness, right? Just like we did back then. They need to stay culturally relevant to what's going on around them. Create safe spaces where they can share. A lot of times in the household, there's not a safe space of what's going on at home, what's going on at school. They should be able to have a place that they can share what's going on physically, mentally, relationally, spiritually. A youth pastor needs to stay rooted in the Scripture. It can't be all pizza. Pizza should be there, but it can't be all about pizza. We have to stay rooted in the Scripture, right? We need to leverage technology wisely. Technology is here to stay. It'll always change. It'll always look different. But as we can use it wisely, we can use it in our culture for good. Model discipleship. I will just always point back to a discipleship, whether it be adult, young adult, or student. They need to have a discipleship pathway in which to follow. Equip leaders and volunteers. Be patient with growth. Understand mental health. Don't neglect your own spiritual life. Make sure your own soul care is doing well. Encourage servant leadership, because I think it really works. It worked for Jesus and the disciples. It works in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And it can work today. Know how to handle challenges, embrace creativity, focus on outreach, and be a lifelong learner. If I bottom lined all that, I'd say we have an opportunity to disciple students to be world changers. We have an opportunity to disciple young adults. We have an opportunity to disciple adults to be world changers. It's what Jesus did even when it was 12. Not everyone will make the journey. Even in Jesus' record, he was 11 for 12.
Yeah.
And so not everyone will make that journey. But the reality is those that do, it impacts them for life.
That's so good. I love that. And just thank you for doing this with me.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe you texted and reached out. Is this Ron Baum?
I had to get your number, and the person I got it from said, I'm not sure this is still his number.
Yeah, it's been the same number for a lot of years.
But no, it's just wonderful to talk to you and hear just your reflections. And I hope that this will inspire some people to think more deeply about ministry. And there are some people who follow the ministry, and I love what they're doing. They've started regional ministries in their area of helping to disciple families and creating culture where they're at. And it's been so gratifying to see them applying so many of the things that I talk about on the podcast in their context. That's and great. Investing in the deeper levels of discipleship and building that culture where their kids want to go and they want to learn. And that's, to me, why I wanted to have you here, because you did that better than that. I mean, that's where I got the idea. When I'm always talking to people about what to do, I'm always thinking about what you did.
Wow.
And it inspires me. And a lot of the content that I do on the podcast is like because of what I saw you do. And I'm just doing it virtually, but I'm encouraging people to do it locally.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what's really powerful in this day and age. Young people are longing and craving for more meaningful relationships. That they may be stuck online, but they're waiting for an invitation into a real world relationship. And that's where discipleship truly happens.
Yeah.
And So I hope that this will inspire people to apply some of these principles in very unique and creative ways in their own context. And just thanks for doing this with me.
I'm so proud of where you are and what you're doing, the influence that you have through a medium like this, and to know that I got to play a small part in that decades ago. Just so how thrilling just to be together. When you said we might do this by Zoom or something, I said, no, I'm coming to you.
That was wonderful. No, it's so good. And I think, I don't think a lot of the challenges that I faced in high school, but the programs that you built where I could feel like I could belong and be included, even though I had large challenges in my home life, it steadied the boat for me. Mm-hmm. It helped me have a place to go and to make friends. That's something that I just struggled so much socially with back then. And that I could have a purpose. Mm. And you really taught me that I could have a purpose. Mm. I could be something. Mm-hmm. Even though, I didn't have a dad. I was growing up in such a difficult situation and I had so much pain in my life. I saw through helping the kids that I could do something. Maybe I could be something someday. And it just was very meaningful to me. And you and I were never like super close or as close as you were with some of the other students, but I just always knew that watching you, that being in the youth group was changing me and that I was growing and that something was happening. And it would lay a strong foundation, and you can't have a good house if you don't have a strong foundation. And I think that what you did in your investment in me is a huge part of that strong foundation. That and my mother's faith, definitely played a role as well. And just the beautiful church that we had at Grace in those days. The hymns and all of the older people, all of those people were just part of my life and helped steady the boat for me in my life in very tumultuous times. So people can have more impact than they realize. Yeah. Regular, normal people. Yeah. You just never know. Yeah. When you're...
Even hearing you now, like all of a sudden you go, oh, wow, we really rocked the 80s, and then we lose touch for a long time, and then hear some of the stories that you're saying. You say, wow, just sometimes creating that safe place, sometimes saying that right word or leading that right discussion or being there in the moment can go a long way, right?
For sure. Yeah. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining me in this little trip down memory lane. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it inspirational. And I'm going to be sharing in another podcast very soon. I'm hoping to do 3 interviews, short interviews, like 10, 15-minute interviews with 3 people during my high school years who were just regular people who made a huge difference in my life, just to inspire you that you do not have to have a big social media platform. You don't have to have a big voice or a big megaphone in order to have a profound impact on people's lives. And you just never know what they'll grow up to be and who they might impact in the next generation. And so doing this podcast is just my small way of hoping to inspire all of you as you're discipling your own kids and the other children in your life to know that those seeds are not in vain and that God is going to bless that good work. Thanks so much for watching. God bless.